We have arrived at the Yas Marina circuit on the Yas Island in the United Arab Emirates for the running of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the penultimate race of the season, where the Drivers' Championship could be decided this week. Coming into this week, one team has been in the headlines this week. The only team news of the day comes from Aston Martin, as they have announced that current Alfa Romeo driver and Italian Andrea Verderi will be joining the team in 2022. Andrea's season has been an interesting one to say the least, with a lot of bad luck riddled into it. He currently lies last in the Drivers' Championship, 3 points behind Felix Sonntag, and his current team Alfa Romeo lie 8th in the Constructors, 13 points ahead of AlphaTauri. The fact that he is last in the Drivers' Championship isn't a reflection on his talents and his performances, as throughout the year, whenever Andre has been in a good position, bad luck intervenes, which prevents him from finishing in a good position. One race where this is notable was at Silverstone, where he was looking set to get his first ever podium in the top class before being cruelly taken out on the final lap by outgoing world champion Franco Lopez. He was able to score his first points of the year in Belgium, albeit via some luck, and then finished 8th in Bahrain, which was fully deserved after a brilliant race from both the Alfa Romeo drivers. Andre will be relieved to still be in the top class in 2022, and he'll be hoping to do well in his first season with Aston Martin. This does now mean that at least one current Aston Martin driver will be leaving the team at the end of the season, which was to be expected given Julius Anderson's attempts to drive for either Renault or Lamborghini. However, with neither of those coming into fruition, it is looking highly likely that Julius will be out of a drive, but we will wait and see. Whether or not Roland Mottram will remain to be Andrea Verderi's teammate in 2022 is a bit of a mystery, given that Roland is under pressure to perform after a tricky season. If he doesn't get retained, then it is likely that either current F2 Championship contender Johannes Martins, 2015 FE champion Tobias Kress, and current Aston Martin test driver and 2020 GP2 champion Aaron Curtis could fight it out to be Andrea's teammate. In terms of Alfa Romeo, as a result of Andrea's announcement to Aston Martin, it means that Alfa will indeed have a new lineup in 2022, given that Romain Quark was confirmed last week to be moving to Renault, and the fact that he will be replaced at Alfa Romeo by current Haas driver Emilia Wilson. Bence Valdenga is the current favourite to partner alongside Emilia. However, if he has a shocker in Brazil, then Alexander Arnold and Ruslan Proxiu could be there to capitalise if they have a good race in Brazil. It will be very interesting to see which direction these two teams end up going in 2 weeks' time. And that is it from the penultimate episode of the GP4 OC News Series 9. Just 3 more seats are left to be announced now, which consist of the remaining seat at Haas, the remaining seat at Alfa Romeo, and the remaining seat at Aston Martin. The final team news of the season will break as per usual at the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Who will get the final 3 seats, which drivers will miss out on a drive, which test drivers will be announced early, and what will be the lineup for the 2022 F2 season? Tune in to the final practice session of the season and year in 2 weeks at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos, Sao Paulo. Hello everybody and welcome to the penultimate round of the 2021 GP4 Offline Championship. We are here at the Yas Marina circuit on the Yas Island in the United Arab Emirates for, as mentioned, the penultimate race of the season. And if you thought that Verderi being confirmed for Aston Martin was a shock, look at the weather. You would not have expected that for Abu Dhabi, would you? Rain in the air for this one. The 1% has come about. But I am JW97 and I'm joined today by Dennis Graff.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here back again. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see all the track action here in Abu Dhabi.
Indeed, especially when we've got rain here. The first time we've had rain here in Abu Dhabi since the 2011 qualifying session. So we've been wondering if the pit lane is now fixed because of this. Well, hence why we got the rain back. Well, here is the proper test. We're in a practice session and we will see if it does work. As you can see, everybody is starting on the extreme wet tyres. However, if you saw on the weather graphic, it is expected to get lighter as the session progresses. Maybe even get drier towards the end, of course, but we will wait and see. But as mentioned, Dennis, of course, in the team news this week, to the surprise of many people, because I don't think people were expecting this, Andrea Verderi is still going to be in the top class next season, but with Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's quite surprising, I have to say. Because I think everybody was expecting that if Aston Martin would confirm one seat here, that would have been Jonathan Martins, but no, you've been all wrong. if Ferrari will stay on the grid for next season.
Yes, indeed. I think it's fair to say a lot of
surprising as
people.
hell.
Yes, I think it's safe to say a lot of people were basing their judgments on where he is in the Drivers' Championship. Well, if you look at how Alfa Romeo have been throughout this season, it doesn't really reflect the pace of both Quarg and Vaderi as a whole this season, especially Vaderi, who, let's not forget, was robbed of that cruel podium back at Silverstone, lost him a certain 18 points there because he was in second place in that race, but he has had his pace has been pretty good in the second half of the season, especially his qualifying place, which ultimately you could argue has been the thing that has swayed him back to staying in the top class race, albeit with a different team.
Yep, indeed, as we have seen a lot this season, his qualifying, especially of Alfa Romeo, has been quite good. But good is maybe a bit bad word. It has been excellent a lot of times, but in races that he was often unlucky. I think he's deserved to have another shot at another team, which of course be the first team in the top class he will compete in, apart from Alfa Romeo.
Will be indeed the first time he's gone outside of Alfa Romeo / Sauber when it comes to being in teams in the top class, and it'll be interesting to see how he does at Aston Martin. The only question remaining now is who is going to be his teammate, and we've only got one news video left, of course, which will be in 2 weeks' time, because if you didn't see the news yesterday, it was confirmed that Brazil will be pushed back a week, so it will be in 2 weeks' time as a result of trying to accommodate the two finales for both Formula E and World Champ Car, which will be on next Tuesday and Wednesday instead. So a week break next week for the top class, and then it will be the finale in the week after, so where we will also get the final team news of the season, where 3 seats are still yet to be grabbed. The final seat at Haas, the final seat at Alfa Romeo, and the final seat at Aston Martin. Who will get those 3 seats? It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. And of course, coming into this week here in Abu Dhabi, of course, there is a chance that Franco Gamba could secure his first and possibly only title in the top class. I have to ask you this question, Dennis. Do you think Franco can wrap it up this week, or do you think it will go down to the wire for the second season in a row?
That's kind of a 50-50 question, because on one side he has a gap of 25 points, but on the other side he definitely don't know what's going to happen in the race tomorrow. But I think he will take the championship here tomorrow.
Think he will wrap it up tomorrow. Okay. Obviously, let's not forget Carr. Let's not forget he actually saved his title chances last season here after Franco Lopez had his moment. And if anything were to happen with Gamba tomorrow and Carr won the race without setting the fastest lap, the pair of them would actually be tied on points going into the final race. Imagine that scenario happening. The 2021 OC Championship doing something similar to what happened in real life in 2021, where where 2 drivers were tied going into the final race. Obviously, Carr will really need to dig deep if that were the case, but obviously Abu Dhabi, he has had some good memories here as Carr in the past, and he'll be hoping those good memories come here this week to try and save his title hopes.
Yep, indeed, but of course he has to, as you said, the gap is 25 points, so he has to hope that Gamba will get into the trouble race, and Abba would hope that he can win it. But of course, still practice so a lot. It's too early to say.
Yes, indeed. As we now look at a huge train of cars that is forming down the straight, as you can see, the rain continuing to intensify here at Abu Dhabi. Anybody who's just joined us, no, you are not seeing things. It is raining here at Abu Dhabi, but whether we will see this in qualifying and the race remains to be seen. Of course, it is a 1% chance here with this track, so you could probably say it's highly unlikely that we'll see these conditions for qualifying or even the race. But you never know, strange things have happened in motorsport, that is for sure. As we look at Chris Chatfield, meanwhile, who is still stuck behind one of the Alpha Tauris, that being his former teammate David Kupak. And we might as well talk about Ferrari here a little bit, because of course Chatfield won last time out at Bahrain, making it his 4th win out of 5 races. A man who's definitely on a roll this season, moved up to 4th in the championship, and also meant that that Ferrari moved up to third in the Constructors' Championship. So obviously something to celebrate there. And as a result, Dennis, Ferrari do actually have an outside shot of winning the Constructors' title. It is an outside shot. They are 50 points behind Red Bull. So who knows really, if anything happens to both Red Bull or Mercedes, hold that thought, because speaking of a Red Bull having a moment, it looks like George Roque got a little bit caught on the curb there, had a little bit of aquaplaning there, and nearly went off the track there.
Here you can see how treacherous the conditions are at the moment. Of course, it's the first time rain since 10 seasons ago. Fun fact, it was every season with a 1 at the end has rain.
Yes, indeed, as Roque has a moment going through into there whilst he's rejoining. But as I was saying there, if anything happens to both Red Bull or even Mercedes in these last two races, Ferrari could, by some miracle, win the Constructors. I think it's highly unlikely, but you never know, of course. I mean, of course, they still need to figure out how to save their chances as well. Hold that thought, because Sontag's crashed. I think he's aquaplaned as well, just like George Roque, and that is his session done with because of the spare car ban. Is it that moment as he makes his way through into the right-hander? Or has he gone a bit too quick into the corner? It looks like, no, it looks like he's had the moment going through into this corner and he's ended up slamming into the wall, and that's his session done with, I'm afraid, without even setting a lap time. So that's Sontag's practice session done with right there.
Yep, shame because he can't practice much. He only had that one out lap and then this happened to the crash. It will happen for qualifying, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed, as Sontag is going to get hoisted over the barriers, and of course that will be his session done with. Of course, Ferrari could actually move up to second in the Constructors' Championship after this race, because they are only 8 points behind Mercedes. So if they have another good result here, they could actually leap above Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, which, considering their second half of the season, Ferrari have been on a roll, really. I mean, I think I talked about it last time out in Bahrain. Had they had this momentum in the first half of the season, they could have been challenging for the title, Dennis.
Yep, indeed, but unfortunately the first half of the season was not the best. It's good for them to see that they have such a great run of form in these last couple of races. Yes, that would be a huge surprise if Brown he would somehow manage to win the Constructors' Championship. I like me, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, 50 points separating Ferrari and Red Bull, and of course they do need to outscore Red Bull in this race if they want to save their Constructors' title hopes, because they are above a 1-2 and a fastest lap behind Red Bull, only just though. And of course, Red Bull, of course, do have a chance to wrap up the Constructors' title this weekend as well, because of course they can obviously win it this weekend, as mentioned. The same with the drivers' title. I think they've probably got a higher chance of doing it here than what they did, of course, at Bahrain, which was, of course, a very, very slim chance. But we'll wait and see, of course. You never know. Both championships could end up going to the wire. We'll have to wait and see. Carr, at the moment, is currently at the top of the timing sheets as we speak right now. He's 6/10 quicker than Joseph Willows in second place. As, of course, there'll only be 21 cars doing lap times for anybody who has just joined us. It looks like one of the Ferraris may have made a mistake going through into the right-hander there, which Gal had to take a little bit of a void. Actually, like Chatfield made a mistake going into the hotel section there. But as I was saying, of course, only 21 cars are able to take part in this session because, of course, Sontag crashed out earlier on, bringing an end to his practice session. And so we won't be seeing Sontag until qualifying. As we look at the two Aston Martins going into combat, as Anderson gets by on Motrin. Motrin, of course, obviously for a lot of drivers, this is their last chance to try and impress them, because as mentioned, in 2 weeks' time, we'll of course have the final news video of the season, and for some drivers, if they want to stay on the grid in 2022, they've got to have a good result here in Abu Dhabi.
Yep, indeed. Also for some, it's very important to get a good result here. Example, Molamotjan, or wait, who could I mention as well? Oh yes, Daniel Fraser. Of course, his chances to stay now are very, very slim.
Indeed so, and I've only just realised that the Mercedes has still got a sponsor it's not supposed to have anymore, because I thought I was a lot in the livery editing team made the decision to try to remove it, given that company has now, for anybody who hasn't seen the news, officially gone bankrupt. So, yeah, we might have to remove that at some point, those stickers, and replace it with something else. But anyway, as whilst he was speaking, Rahul Patel has gone to the top of the timing sheets by 0.2 of a second ahead of Harmar Kar, as meanwhile Andre Vaderi, along with Felix Sontag, is in the pits as we speak, as Patel's getting by on one. The Renault's going through into the left-right chicane, as the car's about to finish the lap, as we look at Franco Lopez, who last time out in Bahrain, finally having a very, very good result under his belt, finishing in third place, and yeah, at long last, some good luck for Franco Lopez.
Yeah, indeed. Finally, he had some thing to cheer about. It was his first podium since Monaco. That was some long time ago. Yeah, in this period he had some I would say better races, but then he had that streak with 6 on the not points scoring finishes in a row. His last few races he finally got back to scoring, and now last time out, as you said, finally he got that podium.
Now moved up to 8th in the Drivers' Championship as a result, getting above Evan Byrne, who, on the topic of him, is in fact Car has set a purple first sector compared to Patel, but only by 18 thousandths of a second. But as I was saying, of course, one driver who will want to forget Bahrain is... Oh, hang on, hold the phone, because we've had a crash in the first corner. And that is Franco Lopez, who we were just talking about a little bit earlier. And I think the other one, trying to work out which AlphaTauri that was, I think that might have been Miklos Gal. I think he's made contact with. It is Miklos Gal. So Lopez and Gal's session has come to an end. And I don't really know how you judge that accident, to be quite honest with you, Dennis. Would you blame Lopez? Would you blame Gal?
I would say it's just a racing incident, not racing, but was, if there was fault, then for both equal.
Either way, it means that both of their sessions have come to an end, so it means that only 19 cars are going to be able to take part for the remainder of the session. Sontag already out of it, and Lopez and Gal's day has come to an end, as Lopez and Gal will both get hoisted over the barriers as we get the spare car ban implemented on them. And so there will be their sessions done with. Of course, also in Bahrain as well, it was another strong performance for Joseph Willows, it was fair to say. And I think we're still waiting for Gal's car to get hoisted over the barriers, which it does. So he'll have the spare car ban implemented now. So 3 cars won't be able to go back out onto the racetrack. But as I was saying, obviously Joseph Willows getting second place at Bahrain. Obviously got driver of the day. So close to a victory, Dennis. But in the end, right in the closing stages, Chris just had a little bit more to beat him.
Yeah, Chris was just a bit too fast at the end to catch up to Willows, but it was still a great race from the grid. He now has 4 top 5 finishes out of the last 4 races, which is great 4. He was only now 4 points behind George Roque, which is quite interesting. Yes, and Willows is in a very good form.
Yes, indeed, is Joseph Willows. It's fair to say the second half of the season has been a very good run of form for Willows. A lot of people seeing potentially the old Joseph Willows coming back in these last few races. And, well, who knows where he can go, really, with the McLaren team next season. This car goes back to the top of the timing sheets by 24 thousandths of a second, as I was saying. Be very interested to see what Joseph Willows can do with that McLaren next season, especially when they have BMW power on the back of them as well. Obviously, Joseph is very much looking forward to this partnership and hoping it will be a success to get McLaren back to the front of the grid, fighting for wins on a regular basis, but also fighting for the World Championship. That will be... hoping that is the case. But as said, Carr has gone back to the top. He's now 24 thousandths quicker than Rahul Patel. And Carr really needing this sort of pace, really, if he wants to save his title hopes to go into Brazil. As De Rosa has a bit of a moment going through into the those section of corners there. Luckily didn't go too wide on the exit there. But a little bit of an error for Kirishima De Rosa as he makes his way through into the chicane. And last time out, on the topic of Kiro, whilst Willows were having another good race in Bahrain, it was a case of Kirishima D unlucky again at Bahrain, once again suffering from a mechanical problem, which ended his race, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was could fight back to him after what happened to him in the early stages of the race. Of course, he had, I think, he had a time penalty. I think he did.
No, he didn't get a time penalty, I don't think. I don't think
Or
he
am I
got a
wrong on
time
this?
penalty. I think you may have got him confused with the fact that he had a grid penalty for that race, but he was having a good race up until that point, and then of course he had the mechanical failure. I'm just looking at the sky meanwhile, just trying to see what's going on in the sky. It's still quite glum, but it looks like the rain is, from what I can see on the screen at least, is starting to ease a little bit. So maybe we're getting close to the point where we're going to be changeable. But we were talking about Evan Byrne before that crash between Lopez and Gal happened. Of course, a race to forget for Byrne yet again, because he was fighting for a victory in Bahrain, but as has been the case, there's a little bit of contact between Fraser and one of the Aston Martins there. Luckily, nothing major happened there. But as I was saying, just fighting for the win, and once again, in typical fashion, Evan Byrne's car decides to let him down.
But yeah, his tire, because having the puncture. Yeah, it's once again the case of bad reliability for Renault. He will be glad to leave the team at the end of the season to return to Red Bull. He just wants the season to end.
He does want the season to end. He's desperate to get to Red Bull in 2022, of course. And as a result, of course, of his retirement and Perrin only managing P10 in that race after what was a tricky qualifying session for him, it meant that Ferrari were able to leapfrog them up to third in the Constructors' Championship. And from the form that Ferrari have been showing recently, speaking of which, Chatfield goes to the top by 3/10 of a second, does a 2-minute 3.182 as Anderson gets by on Fraser there into the first corner. But as I was saying, because of the form of the Ferraris, and it wouldn't surprise me if Renault are not able to get them back as a result. But we will wait and see, of course. Things could still change. The Patel goes up into second place, meanwhile, in the Lamborghinis. Perrin is currently holding up the other Ferrari of Jake Galloway, as Perrin is actually coming back into the pits as Roke's got damage. Roke has got damage on the front, and that's obviously some debris he's just clipped there. Now, did he make contact with somebody coming out of the pit, or was that a separate incident that's caused that? And it looks like it's something to do with the pit lane. It looks like he's gone a little bit wide, in fact. So where's he got the damage from, I wonder? Has he got it? He's got it from the curb, in fact. He's bounced off the curb as he made the mistake there, and well, he's going to have to pit for a new front wing.
Yep, indeed. But in these conditions, I think it's not that bad. But it was not ideal at all.
Not ideal for George Roke, especially in the last couple of races. He's also a man who's had some bad luck, it's fair to say. Like with Evan Byrne, was in contention for the victory, and just like Evan Byrne, he also had a mechanical failure. Yeah, George has really only got 2 races now in which to try and get a victory this season, Dennis.
Yeah, and I desperately hope for him that he will get a victory, because he was very unlucky this season. Evan Byrne level of unlucky, but he still had a lot of retirements. Yeah, hopefully he will have a good end to the season.
He'll be open to indeed, and of course he comes into this race 6th in the Drivers' Championship, and if he's not careful he could drop even more if he gets any more bad luck in these remaining 2 races of the season. As we look at Amar Khan, meanwhile, in the Mercedes as he makes his way down towards the bus stop chicane. Roke's still trundling around, of course he's coming back into the pits this lap. And of course it seems that people have been able to get back to the pit safely, of course, in these conditions, and I guess we'll just get that checked over to see if it's the same case with George Roke, as Willows has a bit of a moment going through into the right-handed there, carrying possibly a bit too much speed. Garber, meanwhile, gets up into 6th place, gets above teammate George Roke, only 2 thousandths off of Jake Galloway at this point in time. As so far, only the top 3 are under a second between each other. Everybody else is over a second behind. So, yeah, a bit interesting there at this stage of practice. As Willows is just making his way up through the hill there, as Carr just trying to get some mileage in for the Mercedes team. As Chatfield currently stuck behind Daniel Fraser as we speak. As Byrne improves, but only into 13th position. But Yeah, another team that also had a pretty good race last time out in Bahrain was Alfa Romeo. We've talked about all season, really, Dennis, how much of it's been a what-if season for Alfa Romeo due to the amount of bad luck. Well, in Bahrain, on this occasion, no such bad luck. Double points for Alfa Romeo, something they probably should have been doing all season, pretty much for some of the season, really, because they've had good pace in qualifying, but they've never been able to transfer it into the races for whatever reason, until this occasion in Bahrain.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, for them it was actually the race with the most points scored in the season so far. So it was the best weekend. But as I said, there was a lot of unreliability problems or some drivers involved in crashes. They finally got to what they deserving.
Indeed, and of course another team that did well that weekend was Aston Martin, 7th and 9th for the pair of them, a double points finish for them, and they're looking pretty secure now in 7th place, it's fair to say. They've got a bit of a gap to Alfa Romeo, and it's argued that the Alfa is probably quicker than the Aston Martin, but of course all the bad luck that Alfa have had has allowed Aston Martin to be quite comfortable in 7th for quite a while, and it looks like they're going to stay there for a pretty long time, it's fair to say. So, anyway, it's Amar Khan making his way down the straight, as meanwhile Franco Gamba has gone up into 4th, so it's now the top 4 that are under a second between each other. The rain is still not eased yet. We are expecting it to ease just a little bit as the session progresses to potentially get a little bit more lighter. Maybe we'll see a quicker tyre. In fact, speaking of which, that Renault, Jesus Perinen, has actually gone out onto the normal wet tyre. Now, whether it's the softer or harder version of the normal wet, I am not sure, as Patel has actually broke into the 2-minute 2s and goes to the top with a 2-minute 2.826. I wonder if that was on the extremes or the normal wet. But whatever the case, we do have somebody out there on the normal wet tyres, that being Jesus Perinen. Is he the only one out on the normal wet tyre? I'm not 100% sure, if I'm being totally honest, but there we go, really. Maybe we're starting to see a sign that we're getting towards those changeable conditions, Dennis.
Yep, indeed. I think I was wondering when we will see the normal wet tires for a while, but now Jesus has put them on his car. He will see how much faster he will be on this, because I think the track could be or should be improving by now. This car comes into the pits.
I wonder if the next time Carr comes back out onto the track, he might have a go at those normal wet tyres. We will see. And yeah, I noticed that as well, Yuri. But I've been able to hear him. So anyway, as Jake Galloway comes into the pits, I wonder if some of them are planning to go onto the normal wet tyres, seeing what we've just seen with Jesus Perinen just now. And it does look like the pit lane entrance hasn't got any issues, so I think it's safe to say that things are fine now with these conditions around that part of the track. As we look at De Rosa, who's up on his personal best, meanwhile, he just makes his way into the final turn and onto the straight he goes. And is De Rosa going to be able to improve? Let's see. And he does, but stays in 18th position, not having the best of sessions at the moment. Is De Rosa still on those extreme wet tyres as we speak, as Verderi gets up into P2, as Gamba now gets up into 2nd place. He's 3 tenths now off of Rahul Patel. So that is currently what the gap is looking like at this stage. So with just under 20 minutes to go, this is what the leaderboard currently looks like. Oh, hold that thought, because Chatfield has now gone to the top of the timing sheets with a 2-minute 2.590. So he now goes quicker by 2 tenths of a second. Try again. This is what the leaderboard currently looks like, as people are still improving. Chris Chatfield at the top, with Patel, who's just improved, in 2nd place. Gamba 3rd, with Carr in 4th. Willow's in 5th. Galloway in 6th, Roke in 7th, Griffiths up in 8th, Kupok improved to go into 9th, Wilson in 10th, with Aderi in 11th, Perinen in 12th, Byrne in 13th, with Quark 14th, Anderson in 15th position, followed by Loa Chung in 16th, Lopez in 17th, De Rosa in 18th, Motra in 19th, Fraser in 20th, and Gal in 21st position, as Chung actually gets up into 15th place as we speak right there. And of course, Felix Sontag, the only driver who will not be able to set a time in this session as a result of crashing out quite early on in this practice session. And he's not the only one, of course, to not be taking any further part in this session. Lopez and Gal, of course, also crashed out during the session. They both had an accident with each other down at turn 1. And their sessions along with Sontag's, has also come to an end. We won't be seeing those three until qualifying a little bit later on. Whether we'll see those wet conditions in the qualifying session a little bit later on, we will see, of course. But yeah, that's that really, as Perinen gets up into 7th position in the Renault, as Coupot now they're making his way down towards the left-right chicane. And Wilson now goes up into 5th, so we are starting to see some more improvements happening during the course of this session. Again, I'm not sure if Perinen is the only one on the normal wets, or if anybody else has opted to also go onto the normal wet tyres. I'm not sure. De Rosa's just come into the pits meanwhile, as has the Alpha as well. I think that Alpha is it Quag or Videri? I mean, Videri's name has got the pit indicator, so I think it's Videri. I think, yes, it is Videri who's just come into the pits. As now Chatfield is making his way into the pits. I think it is starting to get... It's still a bit gloomy in the sky, as you can see, but I think it is starting to get a little bit brighter, but not too much at this stage. Willows now then just had to negotiate and get by on one of the Williamses there. Of course, being Jamie Griffiths, because Felix Sontag is not able to take part for the remainder of the session. Patel crossed the line to... He does not improve and stays where he is. And... as they make their way through into the first corner there. Of course, Lamborghini, another race to forget for them, really. To Bahrain, and once again, Laura Chung suffering from quite a lot of bad luck, Dennis.
Yeah, I think it's the amount that Chung, the amount of Chung having retirement because of reliability is insane. She had so many problems, especially with the suspension. What doesn't come to my mind now, but yeah, Lamborghini really have to fix their mechanical issues. But for Patel, he was of course involved in an accident with our car, and yeah, couldn't finish the race higher than I think it was P14. I cannot hear anything from Joe at the moment. Wait, Joe's still here? And only I not here. Wait. We have the Lamborghini of Patel coming through the final corners, who is currently up on his personal best. Comes through the final corner now. Well, he's slotted in, 32nd, and he stays in 2nd, but improves.
Well, my nap has been interrupted. I'm joining the commentary until Joe gets back.
Terve.
Terve. It's me, the incompetent idiot host. But yeah.
Yeah, now Burn improved to P12.
The track
Now
is
John Joe
improving.
goes to the top. Yeah, by a lot. So Chung goes up to P5. Now we will see, I think, improvements with every set in time, but not for Patel. He will come into the pits. Although he is improving by almost 1.5 tenths.
Yeah, this lap will be quite an improvement, but he has to change the tires, so no can do. I don't think he or anybody else really cares about getting the P1 in practice, but well, maybe one of the back marker. Well, there's no real back markers this season, but one of the lower teams will maybe like to have their name on the top of the timing sheet. But yeah, Patel's been looking really fast during these practice session overall anyway.
Yeah, indeed, his cars were suiting these conditions, or the track with these conditions. There's no Wilson improved to 7th. Joseph Willows goes to P10. Here's Chang, currently in P6.
On the normal
So improving
wets.
again. Yep.
Yeah, purple. As Fraser is
Yep.
doing what Fraser usually does.
Yep, indeed.
But yeah, interesting to see who gets the wet tires to work here in the last 13 minutes before we get to the real deal, aka the qualifying.
I think for qualifying will be dry.
Probably.
And Tupac improved. Comes Chang through. This one causes Anderson, goes up to P16.
Rock just improved
This
by
is-
1.2 seconds.
Holy moly.
And Chang only P3.
Chang goes 3rd. But that's a massive lap from George Roque in the Red Bull, of course. So Mortian improves to P12. So yeah, you can clearly see that the track is moving by a lot. Of course, also you can see the sky being more brighter.
Improvements everywhere.
Yep. Indeed.
Huge bunch of cars in the pits as well, as Jesus takes the fastest time as De Rosa goes off.
Yep. That's right. I think, yeah, he goes off there as well, but he avoids the wall.
He survived.
Yep. And as mentioned, Jesus now in P1. So yeah, now I think who is not on track at the moment will be at the bottom. Yeah, so Griffith to P8 and Fraser to P10. Chang is once again improving. Federi now goes to 3rd. Almost 2nd behind Perrin. Now let's see if Chang can go up these final 2 corners and stock car goes 3rd and Q4 goes 15th. Anderson improved. Jason Katie Rogue improved even more.
Another 9/10.
Yeah, indeed. He's doing some pace. It's not Chang.
He's really liking these
Proves to go
conditions, so
before.
maybe he has the right tires working properly in here, so he's just setting some very strong lap times.
Yeah, indeed. 2nd quicker than anyone else. This Mortian did go to P11.
Also, the gaps are going to
So,
look funny
yeah.
with Gal and Lopez not being able to set time. It's going to 8.3 seconds slower on their fastest lap. Perinen improves, but
Jesus,
still
improve.
7/10 off. As yeah, you can see Rogue is slashing through the other cars easily.
Yeah. He's absolutely on this practice wants to show that he has pace to compete for pole later on.
I mean,
But still,
considering how he's been this season, he's not going to get the pole. And Fraser into 6th, Griffiths into 9th, Federer into 4th.
Yep. Gamma the 2nd. make it Red Bull 1-2. Oh,
It's like
he's a
we're
big
back
gap
to
of cars.
2013.
Yeah.
And ooh, nice lap from Armor. He's of course he's having his 250th Grand Prix this week, and of course, massively important for him.
Yeah, thanks to Franco Gamba for this nice stat. So he can see Chang improving 6. There we go, 5. Going to stay in front of that car.
There we go. So
Taking that car, so he could wide. He still keeps big ahead of the McLaren, or isn't? Who is he? Is he? Interesting racing in practice.
there's been lots of wheel-to-wheel in practice today.
Yeah, Barrett improved. Again. Also now the man who was at the top for the most of the session, well, but then is now dropped down to P10 because of that improving conditions and him not setting a lap time, I think, on the normal wets yet.
Yeah, but he's out on track, so probably he's going to improve his lap. I think everybody who's on track will improve it still quite a lot.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
but not Chang. She will pit.
Another 4 tenths and Gamba goes to the top now.
Yeah,
And,
indeed.
to see the improvement of the conditions, you can just look at Gal and Lopez with those 9 seconds and 7 seconds off. As yeah, the lap times are coming down fast.
Maybe someone could get the intermediates in the final run, or is it still too wet?
It doesn't really look like intermediate conditions to me. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes sometimes the teams do make interesting decisions with the tires, but let's see. You never know. Maybe somebody will put the dry so that just drive around on this track on dry tires.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Too early. Way too early for twice. No, Chang gets the pit box. And then now goes to P9. This is it the Red Bull car out the track? If yes, it's George.
Yeah,
Rogue.
it's Rogue. Automatic camera. I don't want to intervene, but why are we watching this automatic camera? Can you maybe somebody who's on track? I know the Lamborghini mechanics look nice, but come on. There we go.
Yeah, we now look at those below currently in P17. Of course, he also did not set complete time on the time at all on normal wets. Let's see what his first sector will be. Now we have Permanent and Red Bull side by side. Galloway goes stop.
Rogue and Perrin having a little battle going on there.
Yep, indeed. Who will be in front? It's going to be Griffiths, Q-Puck, Anderson, of course, Lopez, Cal, and Sonntag are the bits. If you also just exited the pits. That was high with the Red Bull. They approved. Modian improved once again. Fraser could be P9 with 4.5 minutes to go. I think this practice has gone by very quickly, to be honest.
These usually do feel quite fast. Of course, sometimes when nothing is happening it's different, but when we have started to have live commentary, I feel like the practice has been going through, at least in terms of feeling, much quicker. And I think the current length of the practice is fine for the near future.
Yep.
Spurn
Indeed,
is
it's the
switching
burn
around, and is he going off the track? No, but that lap isn't going to be very good. Galloway has managed to get a 6/10 gap in the top, as Gal's lap time is now 10 seconds off.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time, to be honest, with that. Anyway, we still have 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Yeah, this 1.69 seconds.
How are all the cars so bunched up? This is weird.
They just want to practice racing. So this wheels going off the track.
Going off, and then he will probably go off here as well. Ooh, almost spun, but keeps it on track.
Yep, indeed. He was an improvement, but because of this, he sure won't improve. Yes, of course. Because the line and how many seconds? You're 5.8. This would have been his fastest lap. You would have been a P18.
Now we will start looking
so, jump
onwards.
Yep. Let's see who will be the last one to cross the line. Walk. Goes up to P15. Almost 5 seconds off. Galloway doesn't improve. Costa improves but stays at P16. So he is over there.
Patel is on a good lap, not going into the top, but could go into the top 3.
Of course, top 3 is still good. But let's see how this last sector would be. Oh, it was more thought he would go up there. But he not.
As we move into the final minute of the practice.
Yep, indeed. But there, he stays at P4, but improved by half a second. Here's Amelia Wilson. Of course, we'll move to Alfa Romeo next season. She is up on her personal best. Let's see what the last sector was like. Across the line she will go, and she improves but stays at 14. Here's Julius Anderson, who is
almost 3 seconds up on his personal best.
Oh yeah, that's some improvement here.
Into 9th.
It's some good improvement.
The Rogue has made a mistake on his lap.
Organic. Yep, 3.5 seconds off.
Okay, and Rogue
no,
will
I think Rogue was the last.
Yeah, Rogue will be the last car, as Chang is
Yep.
going through the final corners just now.
If there's checkered flag, those practice is done now, and so I think the wet conditions will disappear. Chang goes to P6. Here's one Clark, still moving. Where will he go?
What? Galloway, god damn it.
See the Galloway. Now 1.4 seconds ahead of car. Here's Fraser. Doesn't prove. Rossa only P17. Griffith gets some mileage in. Now Jeff is stuck behind him. He was someone's personal best. But we don't know by how much. He comes to the final corner. Comes to get straight. He doesn't move. Yes, it was a lot of time. The final sector is traffic. But then once again on improvement. But I think once again he was saying before. Let's see across the line. Yes, stays to fourth. Wilson again on improvement. The pedal to the corner. Now heading towards the final bend of the circuit. Which I think, by the way, in GP4 the track's producing much better racing than in real life. I think that's the effect. Wilson goes
Oh,
to
it
310.
definitely does.
Yeah, that's why I say that Q walking P18. Now Anderson. Once again, an improvement. I think you could go to
P6.
6 just.
And the Rogue will be the last car.
Yeah, but he definitely will not improve. He stays
And we are
in
done.
P8 and now that's practice. Yep.
So
That's practice over.
we will end that stream for the moment, and we will come back into the qualifying with the other streamers. I need to change the stream name. So see you all shortly.